Welcome back to the club at Shadow Lakes. As you can see, we have a golf cart with your name on it. It is a public course. Mag's Restaurant, Art Manji, your chef, Dirk Hartman and Jean-Sebastian Aubin in the pro shop, and 18 holes of the most picturesque golf you'll find anywhere. And on your way here, make sure you stop by and take a look at the Big Dig. Hopefully that the Shell folks will be signing off on soon. Get that petrochemical plant going. Look, before we talk to Ted Arnaud, who's on the AT&T smartphone, and Dave Pasquale about the second leg of horse racing's Triple Crown, the Preakness, your Pratte Pack going to go over some sports notes. You know, as we go to tape, just underway, it is Game 3, ladies and gentlemen, of the Pens and Tampa Bay Lightning. Sidney Crosby's overtime goal, his first goal since the first round, knotted it up at a game apiece. So we shall see how that thing turns out a little bit later tonight. Now, as far as the Pirates, John Jaso and Andrew McCutchen-Cervelli, who got a brand new deal worth $31 million, each had 3 hits yesterday as they were victorious against the Atlanta Braves 12-6. Tonight, as we speak on 93.7 The Fan, it's the Bucks and Braves again with Francisco Liriano on the hill. Now, as far as the Cavaliers are concerned, they are now 9-0 in the postseason. LeBron James hit his first 9 shots. He ended up with 24 points in 3 quarters. They beat the Toronto Raptors 115-84. Kyrie Irving had 27. And ladies and gentlemen, Cleveland is looking to end that drought of 52 years since they won any sort of championship. So we do wish them well. Now, to the links tomorrow, one of my favorite tournaments. It is the Byron Nelson Classic, the late great Byron Nelson, who was born in 1912. He died September 26, 2006, but his legacy lives on. He was a golfer from 1935 to 1946. He won 11 straight and 18 in all, but decided at the young age of 34 that he wanted to be a rancher in that great state of Texas. He retired, but went on to become an amazing commentator. And this tournament has raised more than any other PGA event on the tour for charity, $121 million. So we're going to be covering that throughout the weekend on News Radio 1020 KDKA. Next week, it will be Jack Nicklaus's event at Muirfield, the Memorial, and then just weeks from that, it's the U.S. Open at Oakmont. But now, let's talk about what is going to be happening with the second leg of horse racing's Triple Crown. It is the Preakness Stakes. Let's welcome Ted Arnaud. Ted, how are you?
Doing very well, Rob. Good to talk to you.
Dave Pasquale, how are you?
Robbie, I'm fine. Good to be with you, and you as well, Ted.
One thing I do know, gentlemen, Gunrunner will not win this race for sure.
Correct. That's correct.
Now, explain to me why this colt.
Are you being Captain Obvious?
Yes. Listen, my mother didn't raise no fools. I got to ask you guys. Tell me why you finished third in the Derby. You got the Belmont in 2 weeks, but you decide I'm not going to let my horse run at Pimlico. Why is that, Dave?
Well, in the first place, he couldn't catch him at 1.25 miles. You know, he's got a 1/16 of a mile less in the Preakness, and I think his connections are probably thinking, why should I try to go after him in the Preakness when I can wait a couple more weeks, get a little more rest in the Gunrunner, and go after him in the Belmont, which is 1.5 miles. You know, plenty of distance for him to make that last run.
Ted?
Yeah, I agree with what Dave said. There were a lot of horses charging at the end, and if that race were a little longer, you don't know how Nyquist would have handled it. But you had to say, you know, there might be a little bit of a weakness there. Certainly at the length of the Preakness, he was in really, really good shape. So if I've got a horse that's got a shot at him in a longer run, I'm going to rest him up, and I'm going to make sure that he's ready for the Belmont. I mean, it's a big race, the Preakness, but winning one of them is the big prize. So I'm going to go after the one I think I can win.
All right, Nyquist obviously is the favorite. A close second is Exaggerator. Talk about those 2 horses, 1-2 as far as the favorites at Pimlico.
Well, I think in my opinion, I think if they would have had a little more distance in the Derby, I think Exaggerator may have caught Nyquist. They have less distance in this race, of course, but also they have less traffic. And with less traffic, I think Exaggerator may have an easier time. He's certainly not going to have to weave his way through 18 horses to get to Nyquist. But and there's one other thing about this race too. I understand that there's a 100% chance for rain. Exaggerator loves the mud, so in his favor, if that track turns out sloppy, I think he's got an advantage.
I know that you guys are the racing aficionados, but I love a good mudder. I love when they race in the mud. There's something about the pageantry, the struggle, and it really brings out the champion in these horses, Ted.
Yeah, like you said, your mother didn't raise no fool. So that was a difference.
That was good. That was good. I was thinking the same thing.
Hey, I do like Exaggerator. It's funny, we talked about Stradivari last Sunday, and I like that horse still as a surprise, as something that can come out of nowhere and really take a shot. I would look really at a trifecta with those three horses, and I think that would be a nice little bet where you'd throw a little bit of money on your prize.
You know, Teddy, we did talk about Stradivari on Sunday, and
Yeah.
That's an intriguing horse. He's only had 3 starts, 3 races. He broke his maiden in his second try, and then won an allowance race at Keeneland in his 3rd try. So he's got 2 in a row, but he hasn't run any great against any grade
That's why
great horses.
it's so intriguing. It's a complete unknown, but you know he's had a couple of good races, so you don't know.
You know, Teddy, Pletcher didn't put him in there because he didn't think he had a chance, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I've got a lot of respect for Todd Pletcher, and this is a race that he's never won. He's never won the Preakness, and I think he really wants to win this race. He wouldn't go in there with Stradivari if he didn't think he had a very good shot.
What about?
He's got a good jockey, so I mean, it's I just find that horse intriguing, like we talked about last Sunday.
Absolutely.
What about Bob Baffert's Collected?
I think, in my opinion, he's got a shot. You know, he's Collected is one of those horses that are going to be pressing the pace or setting the pace, and he's had one clunker, and I said outside of that, he's done very well. I think he's 6 races. I think he's got 6 starts. He's won 4 of them, and he's come in second once, and has made about $434,000. So I think Collected he'll be in that race for at least a part of the race, if not all of it.
Okay, now a couple of other horses and get your thoughts. Cherry Wine being one at 20-1 shot, but you've got Uncle Wino, and you and I were talking about it, the half brother of Nyquist, and there's a few more of his family hanging around because of Uncle Mo. Tell me about that.
Well, yeah, Lauban is another son of Uncle Mo, and I think therein lies the end of the similarities, because I don't think he has a shot. No, I don't think so. Cherry Wine, I think he's not a bad horse, but again, I don't think he'll figure into the first, second, third, or fourth place.
But how can you not put a few quid on a horse that's a long shot like that? I mean, it's at least worth rolling the dice.
Well, yeah, but if I'm going to put my money on a long shot, you know, it's going to be an Awesome Speed or an Abiding Star, a horse like that, because that's going to be a real long shot. You know, some of these other horses they're going to, you know, after Exaggerator and Nyquist and Stradivari, everything else is double digits. So there's some value to be had in this race if you pick the right horses.
All right, Ted, couple of things. Let's talk about, and I know the guys in Vegas, we love them, but there's something about the London odds makers that I've always found very attractive. I think that they don't get enough credit when it comes to prognosticating various sports events. Talk about the London book just a little bit.
Well, it's a free-for-all. I mean, they can bet on anything, and it's been that way for years and years. And probably the biggest house is Ladbrokes. Of course, they were around Pennsylvania. Actually, they had a track in Colorado for a while. But, I mean, these guys are very experienced odds makers, and you can bet on who's going to be Pope, who's going to be the President of the United States, what the odds will be. I mean, they take all kinds of factors into account when they do their odds, and I think, you know, they've been at it a long, long time. So it's going into those houses when you're over there is always a lot of fun too.
All right, guys, how do you break this down? And speaking of presidential politics, I want to pick both of your brains on that in a moment, but break this race down for us. First to you, Dave. Go ahead.
Well, there are 6 front runners, as I see it anyway, 6 front runners in this race, and I think that may be an issue for Nyquist, because you've got Awesome Speed, Abiding Star, Collected, Lauban, Stradivari, and Uncle Lino. They're all speed horses. Nyquist is going to have to either deal with that speed or lay off of it. If he lays off of it, he's still got 6 horses he's got to contend with by the time they get to the 3-ace pole. I think this race is set up very well for Exaggerator, or there's a possibility that one of these speed horses could go wire to wire in this race. If that happens, it would be a little bit of a surprise because Nyquist has tactical speed, which is an indication that if he can call it at speed anytime he wants to. But we'll have to wait and see. Ted, what do you think about those six speed horses?
Well, I think I agree with you. One of them could take a turn and get just far enough ahead that Nyquist may not be able to catch him at the end, but that would be a big surprise. But it's going to be interesting because Nyquist did so well with a pack of 20 horses, and you see how he does when he doesn't have that to work his way through, whether it works in his favor or against him, because the other horses aren't going to have that many horses to have to break through either. So I think that might give Exaggerator a little bit of a surprising edge. So I think the speed horses are going to break everybody. They're going to have to keep up with them. I don't think Nyquist will be that far back, but it'll be interesting if some of them have a little bit extra in the tank on that day. You know how these horses are. They can stretch them.
I think you're right. I think that Nyquist will probably lay off the pace and wait to make his move. But I think the horse that we both think is very intriguing is Stradivari. And I think if that horse gets on the front end, he won his last two races by 25 lengths.
Yeah, I mean by huge amounts.
Absolutely.
Not a great field to run against.
No.
But still, you beat everybody that was there that day by a lot.
And when you win by 14 lengths, you're not even trying. You're wrapping him up.
Pulled up at the end, so the jockey's not going to press you at that point. So you've got a lot. He's probably got a lot more in the tank than what he showed during those two races.
I think you're right.
Now listen, you come out here to Mag's Restaurant. Art Mangio will cook you up a nice dinner. You can sit and watch this race unfold, or better yet, you can head to the Meadows or Mountaineer or Prescal or the Rivers and really enjoy the ambiance of the Sport of Kings. We're going to take a very short breather, and through the magic of videotape, we'll be right back to talk the race for the White House. And you won't want to miss this because Dave Pasquale and Ted Arnaud are with me, Rob Pratt, at the club at Shadow Lakes. Back in a moment.